Interestingly enough, I just thought of this after all these years. I never thought of this obvious thing. The indexing for the quatrain is very close to the year, a few years off from the year that he actually, Saddam Hussein, took power in the end of 79, I believe. Or it could have been 78. I have to check that, 78, 79, but it's close. But anyway, that's another interesting thought. But the thing is, this prophecy that's in the narrative letter describes the Antichrist in detail, the third Antichrist, as being the final one, and his war lasts 25 years. Here's another riddle. If you've got somebody, a candidate, who actually did have a rule of 27 years of bloody war, and you have this other timeline. Now, Nostradamus was really amazing with timelines, by the way, so it's hard for me to imagine that he goofed, because, I mean, in the book I show all the times in his prophecies where he got whole timelines right. Like the first Antichrist timeline of rule in France was 14 years. He was right. He was Emperor of the French from 1799 to 1814. There's many other things in the book that describe it, but in this case, I think that this is actually a nudge to us to see this war as two cycles of time, what I call the war of the Antichrist while alive, and the consequences of a war of 25 years more because of his death.
Well done, John. Absolutely well done. Now, the book of Revelation, does Nostradamus echo not the Antichrist, but the outcome, the apocalypse, end times? Does that happen?
Yes, there are some parallels, and in the chapter that's probably going to be the most controversial chapter of this book, Nostradamus and the Antichrist, codenamed Mabus, is that I had to, because my readers demanded it, and actually as a scholar I must have to put into the mix not only Middle Eastern figures, but I also had to, as people know, you can crunch G.W. Bush out of Mabus as well. But since he's just about out of power, it looks like he's a lame duck Antichrist if he was one. So the next president, though, Obama, how you pronounce it in Kenyan, Obama, not Obama, it's Obama, that is very easy, M-A-B-U, just the missing S. And by the way, as it shows in the book, the letter most often, 90% of the time that is the last letter you replace, is an S. So there's a pattern in all of these. Yeah. So Mabus could be Obama. And in the chapter I call Obama the Mabus, chapter 9, I have to look at the possibilities that that Obama is somebody Nostradamus mistook or understood correctly as the third Antichrist, and we'll just have to see. And it's a very interesting chapter because it looks exactly at this whole issue of the biblical tradition of the New Testament. And I said, even though Nostradamus was a bit of a renegade New Testament prophet, having three Antichrists rather than one, and so on, there are a lot of parallels to what he had to say about it. And
stay with us, John. We're going to come right back to you. We're going to take phone calls as well. We'll let you wrap up about the end times, and then phone calls with John Hogue on Coast to Coast AM. Let's go to the phones. You ready?
Yes. Well, first off, I probably should close.
That's right.
Yeah, it's, the whole idea we said in the last hour is there some correlation between the tradition, the New Testament Revelation tradition of looking at the Antichrist a certain way? Is there any connection? Well, if there is, Nostradamus doesn't rub it in and make it obvious, which means two things. He sees something different, or he assumes he's going to be writing to a Judeo-Christian audience alive and in the future generations to come, and there are certain givens in that mindset that you don't need to talk about because they're just shared. And one of those themes which may tie in, even though, it might be a stretch, is that what I call, just like the famous song concerning Obama as the third Antichrist Mabus, as the song goes, "You're just too good to be true, can't take my eyes off of you." And there's an aspect about the Antichrist that is a man who just comes out of nowhere, just too good to be true. He's just, no one really knows his background. He's just there. He rises. It's interesting that the first two Antichrists came into power basically from nowhere in 10 years. And fortunately for Obama, although he did not come into power, he's also come in just 10 years. But fortunately for him, it was not with coup d'etats and violence and stuff like the other two. His was a very peaceful and inspiring journey into political prominence. But it is an interesting correlation that he has that. So, even though a lot of people don't want to talk about it, it's quite controversial. There's a lot of people out there who are, especially if they've had a Judeo-Christian background, who are concerned that somebody who seems so nice, so true, so good, that everybody's just taking on, the world's embracing, fits in their, at the very least, dogmatic view of interpreting the book of Revelation, that this is, anyway, the Antichrist that's going to be the most engaging is the one that's the most effective. That's the argument.
That's the argument. You're right about that.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's just that's the argument.
And you're not saying he's the Antichrist?
No. But I had to, but at the same time, as personally, no. But as a scholar of prophecy, I would be remiss in not including someone who has many parallels, as the book, my new book on my website, Nostradamus and the Antichrist Code, named Mobus, will describe in detail.
Okay, very good. Thank you, John. Lewis in Rhode Island, you're a first-time caller. Hey, Lewis.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
We're great, Lewis.
Great, Lewis.
Good. All right, I got a question. I found what you guys were just talking about the biblical view of the Antichrist and Nostradamus very, very, very interesting. And my question is this. Now, the book of Revelations claims that the Antichrist has a number 666, and also says that it's the number of a man. Now, 6 represents the number of a man, and there's 3 6s. Do you think that correlates with Nostradamus' view of 3 Antichrists?
Well, in Revelation 13, the actual statement that St. John of Revelation or the Apostle John, it's still disputed among scholars who wrote the book of Revelation, if it was the Apostle John or another of the many Johns that were around in early Christianity, he's saying he has a numerical equivalent of his letters in his name produces, I'm paraphrasing, but produces the number 666, although in other editions it's 616. So since it's in Greek, and since the Greek is directly related to the Hebrew as well, what it spells out in Greek, because, before we had Arabic numbers, we had to use numerical equivalents in numbers of the spoken languages of the time. It actually spells out Neron Kaiser, which in Greek means Nero Caesar.
Oh.
So it's possible that the book of Revelation was intended. And when you look at some other parts of the book of Revelation about St. John saying, it's coming soon, it's just around the corner, this whole judgment issue, he may have misinterpreted his symbols and through the bias of wishing Jesus to come back in his lifetime, misread the prophecy in the book of Revelation about something that was supposed to happen 2,000 years ago and not now.
Oh, okay. Wow, thank you.
You're welcome, Lewis.
You got it. Let's go to Justin in Sacramento. You're on with John Hogue, Justin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering in 2012 if you believe there's going to be a new revolution, because I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think that there may be a revolt when people realize that they've been duped for so long.